Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be working on my Grand Cherokee. Took it to the dealership this morning to get an oil change. I've got 2 of those a year that I do. And once you work on your car so long, you don't really want to, do the oil changes on your daily driver, especially when it starts to get into December like this and it's cold, it's wet here in Michigan. You just don't want to lay on the ground. All of my space in the garage is taken up by the E61 and E36, so doing it outside on the ground when it's cold and wet, it's just not ideal. So I took this into the dealership today, like I said, had all the fluids and everything checked, changed, everything else. Got one of these here inspections done that they do every time you take your car for service. Everything on here is green except for engine air filter and cabin air filters. So we're gonna ignore the cabin air filters for now, because not really noticed any difference there. I'll look into those later, but at 56,000 miles that are on this, it's probably about time to change that air filter. So being an unreasonable car guy, I am not going to be putting the factory style air filter back in here, especially with all this engineered plastic in here. It just makes it look bulkier than it really is. Not really necessary. It's just there to clean up the sound. Probably help flow dynamics somewhat, but this thing is just ugly, and being a daily driver and a car guy, I really wanted to make my daily drive a little bit more exciting, especially since this thing really isn't that fast. I mean, it's quick for what it is, 300 horsepower rated, but it doesn't make all the cool noises like my other cars are going to. So I had to change something about it. So I decided that instead of just getting another panel filter, that I would get what is right down here, and I'll show you that in just a second. But first, we're gonna get this engine cover off, get this piece out, and then start working backwards, installing the new part. All right, so now you can see everything's out of the way. When I say engineering had a huge part in this, this is what I mean. I mean, this thing is huge. Like, that's all just to get air from there to there and make it sound right. I don't know if it really has anything to do with flow dynamics, but because you're pretty much just dealing with this part here, and these are all just like resonation chambers. So definitely gonna get rid of that for something that makes it sound a little bit better. All right, now going over what you need to do to take this off. There's a clamp here and a clamp here, and then you've got a bunch of these. You got a post there and there that those guys stick onto, and then there's the plug for the air temperature sensor, and then one Christmas tree clip in there that obviously they never survive. So just pull it up, it'll come right out. But you can already see how much more room there is here. All of this is all not taken up, and there's not that big piece out front here. And then there's also this PCV tube here, which you can tell has a little bit of oil on it. So next, I'm gonna pull the box out, and then the tube, because there's a new tube in the kit that I have. So we're gonna take this out. All right, so I got the filter out. That just comes off those 2 posts there and there. There's a clip right here. Just unclip that from this part of the intake, and then that whole thing should raise out. But here's the filter, and I think they were definitely correct in saying that it's probably gonna need attention soon. You can see all that crud just down in there. And that's all gonna jam up the side that all the air goes through. So not too much worried about the top parts of here, but it's the little veins down in there that collect all the dirt, and that's what clogs it up. So all right, well, I got the PCV hose off. As you can see, it's pretty oily back there, so I think it was leaking. If it wasn't, something close to it was. But this clip right here, you're supposed to lift up. Well, I lifted it up and it broke pretty easily, but it's all the way back here. So the new kit has one, it'll slide over that. So all you have to do is get that off. and the whole hose comes out. So, all right, so now onto the part that you've been waiting for. So I decided to go with the aFe Power Magnum Force intake. So I know there'll be a lot of criticism about this, but this one, the reason I went with this one is because it does seal against the hood. It does have this little piece that mimics the factory one that comes up right here. It even has a spot for it for the grommet to clip in, or the clip to clip in. And it does have a pretty good sized filter on it. I mean, that's the whole filter. I can literally fit my hand inside of the filter. So won't have any problems with it breathing there. But it's all blow molded, so it'll look nice under there. Comes with all the clamps, boots. Like I said, this is that PCV hose. So this kit just made sense. I didn't want to get a cheaper one and have it just be open air. Everybody talks about hot air intakes. Those are the type to do it. This one should be a little better because it does seal up there against the hood, and then it only draws air through here. So, and it gets rid of all the big clunky plastic up front here. So we're gonna go ahead and start with that install. All right, so we're gonna start with the air box. As you can see, there's these grommets that were on the old box that go on those posts. And there's one right there, plastic one. So this literally just drops in. Let me do this. So, mess around with how it's going in there a little bit. Let me get this part in here. I'm gonna set you down for a second. I'll be back in just a second. All right, there we go. The box is in. Like I said, it sits on these posts. So now I got to put in the tube that goes over here and figure out the temperature sensor and where the, actually I'm going to go to the PCV hose first and run it up, and then we'll go to the rest of it. All right, now that I'm out of breath, the part that really sucks, this thing right here. Getting it back there, you got to get it right onto that. Make sure you use plenty of oil, just smear it on the O-rings that are in there. It's going to see oil anyways. It's a PCV hose, but then just run it up here. Got your box in. Now time for the tube, the filter, and the temperature sensor. So I've already started putting the temperature sensor in the tube, which is just going to go right here. So on the stock one, there's this little tab right here. You just gotta lift it up over it, spin it, and it comes right out of there. And then the kit for the aFe intake comes with this rubber grommet, this little fitting here for the sensor, and it's very similar. So once you get it out of there, you just pop the grommet in, pop this in. Again, use a little bit of oil because it will make it a little easier. You're not gonna push it into the tube like I did. And then you're just gonna put the sensor in. And then all of this just goes right in. You're using your hoses and hose clamps at each end. And then, see, there's one of your hose clamps. The other one is on the filter already. So you'll put the tube through the box first, and then this goes in through the box, and then you tighten that. So pretty straightforward, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw all this in. It's pretty straightforward stuff. I don't think I need to film on here, but I'll throw this in and I'll be right back. All right, so there it is. So we got our air intake temperature sensor, our boot. Like I said, the filter sticks into here. It's pretty big. You put the filter in first and then you run it out here. It actually seals on the box. You put your clamp on, and there's this, and your PVC hose plugs into that. So that's pretty much all there is to it. It's starting to sprinkle here a little bit, but so now I'm gonna go ahead and put the cover back on. And I actually found out this tube right here is cracked, which is awesome. So I'll have to get a service order in for that, but I'm gonna put the cover on and then we're gonna go drive it and see what it sounds like. All right, so it definitely sounds better, way better, and it almost sounds like, and don't tear me up for this, if you've heard the Hellcats and stuff with a cold air intake or any kind of cone filter on them, if you subtract the whining sound from that, that to me is what it sounds like. And living in Metro Detroit, there's tons of these things around here, so I hear them all the time. And to me, at least inside the car, that's what it sounds like. So definitely way better induction noise than it had. Those tune chambers that they had on there sounded all right, but obviously not loud enough for me. So I like a lot of induction noise, and that definitely scratches that itch. So as far as the performance gains and everything, they do advertise like 12 horsepower and 14 foot-pounds of torque, stuff like that, but that's not really enough for me to justify buying it. It is the cold air induction noise. Granted, if you get a cheaper one, it'll sound different. The aFe stuff is pretty well put together. It's all blow molded plastic, so everything's smooth on the inside. They've got different shapes, that huge filter that makes a huge difference. But as far as cold air intakes go, this is probably the best bang for your buck, because these are even cheaper than they were when I was looking at them when I first got the Jeep, by like $100 and some. So they have gotten cheaper, probably because a lot of people don't do cold air intake stuff anymore because the internet's basically shunned them. But for the induction noise alone, that's enough for me. So they're a little pricey, but just to have a little bit more of an enjoyable drive to work every morning, it definitely scratches the itch. So, but that's all I've got for you today. I will have more content on the LS wagon and the E36 coming here pretty soon. So to see that, just make sure you're subscribed, make sure you got your notifications turned on. But other than that, we will see you later.